Human shares a joke with alien girl, but human hears her people treat the joke as prophecy. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our main character. The wind skimmed low across the Irashan plateau, carrying the faint metallic scent of ion dust as Eli Turner adjusted the calibration wand in his gloved hand. A soft hum pulsed from the ground monitor beside him, its tiny green diode flickering against the dusk like a heartbeat that hadn't made up its mind. He exhaled a small laugh, mostly to himself, trying to ease the tension that came with being the only human technician stationed this far from the outpost. Kayla Varen stood a few feet away, her bioluminescent skin catching the fading light in soft ripples of blue-green glow, as if her body was quietly reflecting the sky. She watched him with that steady curiosity her people were known for, silent, observant, absorbing every detail like it mattered. Eli tightened one bolt, stepped back, then made the mistake of filling the quiet with a joke. "If this thing glows green again," he said, tapping the monitor, "I guess that means I become your guardian angel." He didn't expect Kayla's eyes to widen, or her breath to hitch, or the way her glow shifted into a pattern he hadn't seen before. Pale spirals tracing up her arms like a rising dawn. Eli blinked, confused, but before he could ask, a soft rustle spread behind them. Several nearby Irashan villagers had frozen mid-step, their robes whispering in the breeze as they slowly lowered themselves to one knee. No one spoke. No one even dared breathe too loudly. Eli felt the air tighten around him like invisible strings. Kayla stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Eli Turner, humans do not speak that phrase lightly." He frowned, running the moment back in his mind. "What phrase? I was kidding. It was just a calling," she said, glancing nervously at the kneeling villagers. "A vow of arrival. A promise spoken only by those chosen to lead renewal." Her glow dimmed, as though she were trying to disappear into her own shadow. "You said it beneath an open sky. They heard it. All of them." Eli swallowed, the weight of unfamiliar expectations settling against his shoulders. His joke, his stupid little attempt to cut the tension, had landed like a falling star in a place where stars meant fate. Kayla took his wrist gently, guiding him away as more villagers gathered, murmuring a rhythmic phrase he couldn't understand. Their voices rose softly, like a tide pulling toward him. "We need to go," Kayla whispered. "Before they decide the prophecy has already begun." Eli let her pull him forward, his boots scraping dust, the monitor still humming behind them. He didn't look back. The glow in the dust was turning green. Kayla did not slow until the murmurs behind them had faded into the wind, her hand still wrapped around Eli Turner's wrist with a careful steadiness, as if any sudden movement might set off another chain of meaning he did not understand. The narrow trail curved between tall mineral spires that glowed faintly in the dusk, throwing shifting colors across her bioluminescent skin. Eli tried to find his breath, tried to line up the scattered thoughts in his head, but the look on her face kept unsettling him. It was not fear. It was something heavier, like responsibility, bending her posture. "Kayla," he said quietly, "I really did not mean anything by that joke. It was just something humans say when equipment acts up." She lifted her eyes to him, the soft green shimmer along her cheeks dimming. "Humans speak lightly. Irashan do not. Our phrases are not shapes of sound. They are commitments." She paused, letting the wind carry the rest of her explanation. "When you spoke of becoming a guardian when the sky glows green, that is a line from the renewal verses. It is a promise only a designated herald can make." Eli exhaled a slow breath, rubbing the back of his neck. The trail was too quiet now, the kind of quiet that makes a person hear their own heartbeat. "So they think I am some kind of chosen figure because of a calibration glitch?" Kayla tilted her head, studying him with an expression that felt almost tender in the falling light. "Not because of the glitch, because you said it without fear. Among us, only someone prepared to guide change would speak that phrase under an open sky." Eli looked away, embarrassed at the idea that anyone would mistake his awkward humor for courage. The path opened into a sheltered cave where faint lights pulsed in the walls like slow breathing. Kayla released his wrist but stepped close enough for her glow to paint soft patterns across his jacket. "You must understand something," she said. "My people have waited many generations for a sign. They listen more for meaning than for intention." Eli's voice dropped without him intending it. "But what if they are wrong about me?" Kayla considered this, her gaze settling on the pulsing walls as if the stone itself held an answer. "Then we will guide them gently toward truth. Irrational faith is strong, but it is not rigid." A breeze curled into the cave, carrying a faint shimmering dust. The particles drifted around Eli's boots, tinting the ground with a muted green glow. Kayla inhaled softly. "That is atmospheric scatter from the upper vents," she said. "A natural phenomenon. But they will see it as the next sign." Eli's stomach tightened. "Because I am standing here?" "Because you spoke the words," she replied. "Everything that follows will appear connected." The hum from the dust vents deepened, echoing faintly like distant chimes. Kayla wrapped her arms around herself, thoughtful rather than afraid. "Eli Turner, your species uses humor to ease discomfort. My species uses reverence to carry hope. This is the place where those two worlds meet." Eli studied her face, the way her glow softened when she spoke of her people, the way the green dust caught in her hair like tiny LEDs. "I did not mean to step into anything sacred," he murmured. "I know," she said, her voice warm with sincerity. "That is why they believe you did." The dust brightened for a moment, a soft shimmer like a held breath. Eli felt it settle on his shoulders like a responsibility he had never asked for but could not quite step away from. Kayla watched him, her expression gentle. "We will figure this out. But tonight, you must stay somewhere quiet. If the villagers see you again under this sky, they may think the prophecy is unfolding too quickly." Eli nodded slowly, the strange green glow reflecting in his eyes as he followed her deeper into the shelter. "Then lead the way," he said, "before I accidentally say something else that starts a cultural revolution." Kayla's glow flickered with a hint of amusement, soft and understanding, as the cave lights pulsed around them like calm, patient breathing. The cave settled into a muted stillness as the green dust faded, leaving only the faint pulse of mineral veins glowing through the stone. Eli Turner eased himself onto a smooth rock ledge, feeling the coolness seep through his jacket. Kayla remained standing near the entrance, her bioluminescent patterns shifting in slow, thoughtful waves as she listened to the distant sounds carried by the wind outside. It reminded Eli of someone listening for approaching footsteps, not out of fear, but out of awareness that attention could change the meaning of everything. "You think they followed us?" he asked quietly. Kayla tilted her head, sensing more than hearing. "They are searching for signs, not for you specifically. But you left an imprint on their expectations. They will look for anything that aligns with the words you spoke." Eli sighed, rubbing his hands together for warmth. "Back home, a joke is just a way to fill silence. Nobody kneels when I talk." "That is because your people separate the speaker from the sky," she replied, stepping closer. "We do not. When someone speaks under open air, the sky witnesses." Eli stared at her for a moment. "You take everything so literally." Kayla shook her head gently. "Not literal. Consequential. Words have weight because hope needs anchors." She lowered herself to sit across from him, her glow casting soft illumination that warmed the edges of the cave. "When my father was alive, he used to say that hope is easier to carry when someone else gives it shape." "Your words gave shape." Eli swallowed, feeling a small twist in his chest that was not fear but responsibility settling in place. "I did not mean to take your father's place or anyone else's." "You did not," she assured, and her glow softened further. "But those who hear you cannot unhear the meaning they believe is there." The cave hummed lightly as the dust vents shifted, sending a faint breeze through the narrow entrance. Eli watched the particles swirl like tiny fireflies before settling on the stone floor. "So what now?" he asked. "I hide. Stay quiet. Never speak here again." Kayla considered this, tracing a fingertip across a glowing mineral seam. "Staying quiet will not erase what has happened, but we can slow the tide. My people need time to interpret. If they see you rushing from place to place, they may believe you are fulfilling the next verse." Eli leaned back, closing his eyes briefly. "What is the next verse?" She hesitated, and that hesitation told him more than any words. Kayla, he said softly, what does it say? Her glow dimmed to a pale blue. It speaks of guidance. The herald walks with a seer who understands the old paths. They interpret signs together. Eli opened his eyes, meeting hers. Is that why you are staying with me right now? She seemed to consider her answer carefully. I am staying because you did not run from the weight of misunderstanding. You tried to understand us, even after the words tangled. Outside, a faint shimmer of light passed across the sky, catching on the mineral ridges like a soft ribbon. Kayla watched it closely. When dawn rises, she murmured, the villagers will come to the plateau again. If they see you, they will think the sky acknowledged your presence. Eli pushed a hand through his hair. So, I am supposed to disappear until you tell me it is safe? No, she said gently. You are supposed to walk slowly, carefully, and let me speak on your behalf until we guide them back to understanding. Eli nodded, the weight of her trust settling on him as tangibly as the air around them. All right, tell me how to walk carefully in a place where everything I say could become destiny. Kayla's glow brightened with a quiet warmth. Then listen, she said, folding her hands as the cave breathed around them. And I will teach you how my people hear the world. The cave lights faded to a gentler pulse as the long night stretched on, the mineral walls shifting through colors as if the stone itself were drifting in and out of a quiet dream. Eli Turner sat with his back against the cool rock, trying to focus on Kayla's steady voice instead of the lingering weight of everything he had accidentally stepped into. She sat close enough for her bioluminescent patterns to cast soft rings of green and blue over his jacket, each pulse syncing, almost perfectly with the faint echo of the vents deeper in the cave. If you want to understand how to walk without creating meaning, Kayla began, her voice low and even, you must first understand how my people listen. Eli raised an eyebrow. I thought I understood listening. Ears, attention, making sure I am not saying anything too dramatic. Kayla shook her head gently. Irrational listening is not about hearing words. It is about sensing direction, the shift of light, the movement of dust, the tone of breath. Everything is part of the message. Eli let out a slow breath, trying to imagine living in a world where a sigh or a flicker of light could be read as destiny. So when I joked about being a guardian angel, you spoke during a sky change, she said softly. The horizon had just shifted color because of vent scatter. To us, that means the world is paying attention. Eli pressed a hand to his forehead. Great. So I told a cosmic joke at the exact worst moment. She tilted her head, studying him with a thoughtful calm. Not worst, just meaningful. You filled a silence that my people believed belonged to the future. They are not upset. They are curious. Eli felt the tension in his shoulders ease a little. Curious is better than worshipping. Kayla's glow flickered, amused. Curiosity can become belief if guided by the wrong signs. That is why we must be careful. The vents hummed again, rolling a faint vibration through the stone floor. Kayla shifted her attention toward the sound, her expression tightening in concentration. The dust is rising earlier than expected, she murmured. The villagers will take that as a signal to gather before dawn. Eli straightened. Should I hide deeper in the cave? No, Kayla said. The deeper chambers echo your presence. They may sense it and misinterpret. Staying near the front is safer. Eli frowned. You are telling me that the cave echoes have opinions about me now. Not opinions, she corrected gently. Reflections. And my people listen to reflections. Eli let out a breath that was half a laugh and half resignation. I do not know how you live like this without getting exhausted. Kayla's expression softened, her glow calming to a peaceful blue. We are raised in it. It is as natural to us as humor is to humans. She paused, watching him with quiet focus. Eli Turner, your ability to laugh does not make you unworthy of being heard. It simply means your voice carries warmth. That is not a threat to us. He looked at her, surprised by the sincerity wrapped in her words. Then why does it feel like everything I say can tip the balance? Because you are new to them, she said. New things always echo louder. A faint shimmer of green light rolled across the cave entrance, signaling the earliest hint of dawn. Kayla rose to her feet, dust motes drifting around her like soft sparks. It is time, she said. We must step outside before they arrive, but slowly, so the sky does not think you are answering it. Eli blinked. The sky thinks now. Only if you hurry, she said with gentle humor. offering her hand. He took it, steadying himself as the two of them approached the mouth of the cave. The horizon glowed faintly, as if the world were waking up just to watch him take his next step. Kayla glanced at him, her voice almost a whisper. "Walk with quiet intention, Eli Turner. Today, they will listen more to how you stand than to anything you say." The morning light on Arashan did not rise all at once. It bled gently over the horizon in soft gradients, catching the mineral ridges in a pale glow that shifted like breathing glass. Eli Turner stepped out of the cave beside Kayla, careful to match her unhurried pace. The air felt thinner out here, carrying a faint hum from the dust vents that seemed to pay attention to every footstep. Kayla watched the sky with the practiced focus of someone reading a living map. Her bioluminescent patterns dimmed to a calm, steady blue, signaling neutrality. "Do not rush your breathing," she murmured. "If your breath sinks too sharply with the wind, they will think you are aligning yourself with the prophecy." Eli blinked. "Breathing counts too." "Everything counts," she said gently. "But counting is not the same as judging." They stopped at a flat overlook where the valley stretched out below. Far in the distance, silhouettes of villagers were beginning to gather, small figures moving like threads weaving into a pattern Eli did not yet understand. "They rise early," he murmured. Kayla nodded. "Hope wakes before the sun." Eli stood quietly, trying to hold himself in a shape that did not imply wisdom or destiny or cosmic intention. His hands itched to go into his pockets, but Kayla had already explained that Arashan considered that posture to mean withholding truth. So he let his arms rest naturally at his sides, palms relaxed, shoulders loose. Kayla glanced at him approvingly. "That is a posture of openness. They will read it as calm guidance." "But I am not guiding anyone," he said. "You are guiding yourself," she replied. "And they will see that as strength." The wind shifted, brushing against Kayla's hair and scattering faint green particles around her. They drifted like tiny lights before dissolving in the warm air. Eli watched her face change slightly, softening with some internal realization. "What is it?" he asked. "Your presence did something unexpected," she said. "The dust changed pattern when you stepped into the light." Eli frowned. "That does not mean anything." "To you, no," she said. "To them, it means the world noticed you." He rubbed the bridge of his nose. "So just stepping outside is an event now?" "Not an event," she said. "A possibility." The figures in the valley were getting closer now, forming loose circles as they approached the plateau. Their robes shimmered with thin strands of light, catching every movement like threads of a woven constellation. Eli felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "What do I do when they get here?" "You will do nothing," Kayla said. "I will speak. You will stand as you are now, steady and quiet. Stillness is comfort to my people." Eli looked at her, trusting the calm in her voice more than he trusted the ground beneath his feet. She stepped a little closer, lowering her voice. "Eli Turner, my people are not looking for miracles. They are looking for reassurance that the world has not forgotten them." Her words settled into him like a warm weight, grounding him. The villagers arrived at the base of the overlook, lifting their eyes to him in a silence that somehow felt full rather than empty. Kayla raised one hand in a gesture Eli had not seen before, a soft arc through the air that made her glow brighten briefly. The villagers responded with a unified breath, their patterns pulsing in subtle unison. Eli stood still, letting the wind move around him without reacting to it. The sky above shifted color again, a faint ripple of green spreading outward like a quiet sigh. The villagers murmured softly, but with wonder rather than alarm. Kayla glanced at Eli, her voice barely audible. "They believe the sky is greeting you." Eli swallowed hard. "And what do you believe?" Kayla held his gaze for a moment, soft and unreadable. "I believe the sky greets all who stand without fear." The gathered villagers stood below the overlook in a quiet formation that reminded Eli Turner of a tide settling into place. Each person angled slightly toward him, as if he were a fixed point on the horizon. Their robes shimmered with faint threads of light, catching every movement with a soft glimmer that made the entire valley seem alive. Kayla stepped forward, her bioluminescent patterns easing into a gentle gold. The color Eli had learned meant reassurance. She spoke in her native language, each word shaped with deliberate calm. Eli could not understand the phrases, but he recognized the cadence. She was guiding them away from expectation, offering steadiness instead of wonder. The villagers responded with subtle motions, their heads tilting in unison, patterns on their skin flickering in slow pulses. "They are listening," Kayla murmured to Eli without turning her head. "They are trying to understand your presence without assuming too much." Eli nodded slightly, maintaining the posture she had taught him. Shoulders relaxed, hands open, breath steady. It amazed him how something as simple as standing still could feel like walking a tightrope over meaning. A gentle breeze drifted across the plateau, carrying a faint shimmer of green dust that spiraled upward before dissolving into the warming air. Several villagers lifted their eyes to the sky, their patterns brightening. Eli felt the tension return to his chest. "Is that another sign?" he whispered. "Only if you react to it," Kayla whispered back. So he did nothing. He let the dust drift past him like harmless pollen, resisting the instinct to step away. The villagers watched, seemed to register his calm, and their glow softened. "Good," Kayla murmured. "You are showing them that not every shift in the sky requires a shift in belief." Eli allowed himself a small breath of relief. "I never realized how exhausting not speaking could be." "To my people," Kayla said with a faint smile, "silence is a language." She turned back to the villagers and lifted one hand, drawing a gentle arc through the air. They responded with a soft exhale in unison, their patterns dimming in a gesture of collective acceptance. Eli felt the moment shift, like a weight redistributing across the ground. The tension that had wrapped the morning seemed to settle. But then an elder stepped forward from the group, her glow a deep blue that contrasted with the softer colors around her. She looked up at Eli with an intensity he did not need translation to understand. She spoke a short phrase, her voice quiet but carrying. Kayla inhaled sharply. Eli leaned closer. "What did she say?" Kayla hesitated, her patterns flickering in a conflict of tones. "She asked if you will share a word. A single word. They believe a herald's word at dawn carries direction for the day." Eli's heart skipped. "But anything I say can be misinterpreted." "Yes," Kayla said softly. "But refusing to speak may be interpreted as withholding guidance." Eli stared at the ground for a moment, the dust swirling around his boots. "I do not want to mislead them." "Then choose something that cannot mislead," Kayla said gently. "Something human. Something simple." Eli felt dozens of eyes on him, waiting, hopeful. He lifted his chin slightly, letting the breeze pass across his face. A single word formed in his mind. He spoke it clearly, steadily, without embellishment. "Patience." The villagers repeated it softly, their patterns warming. Kayla watched their reaction with careful relief. "You chose well," she whispered. Eli exhaled slowly as the valley seemed to absorb the word, letting it settle like sunlight across the stone. "Let us hope," he said quietly, "that patience truly is universal." The word Eli Turner had spoken drifted through the valley like a warm echo, settling into the villagers' patterns until their glows softened into gentle gold. Kayla exhaled with quiet relief, but Eli could tell by the way her shoulders held their shape that the moment was not over. The villagers slowly dispersed, heading down the winding paths toward their homes, their murmurs fading into the low hum of the dust vents. Only when the last figure disappeared behind a ridge did Kayla finally turn toward Eli. Her bioluminescent patterns flickered with something he had not seen before, a mix of gratitude and caution. "You steadied them," she said. "For now." Eli rubbed his palms against his pants, the morning chill settling through the fabric. "I was just trying not to cause another cosmic misunderstanding." Kayla stepped closer, examining the sky as if reading invisible text. "There is something you must know. Your word carries influence now, even if you did not intend it." Eli let out a slow breath. "I figured that part out." "No," she said gently. "Not just with the villagers. With the elders." Eli's chest tightened. "That does not sound comforting." Kayla folded her hands, patterns dimming to thoughtful blue. "The elders interpret shifts in community energy. They will study how your word changed the tone of the gathering. And if they think I meant something deeper?" Eli asked. Kayla hesitated, then met his eyes. "They may attempt to involve you in a ritual of alignment." Eli blinked hard. "A ritual of what now?" "Alignment," she repeated. "It is a ceremony where leaders walk in slow harmony to show unity with the sky." Eli stared at her. "Kayla, I can barely walk without stepping into cultural trouble." What happens if I accidentally sneeze during this ritual? Does the sky think I am declaring a new season? Her glow brightened with soft amusement. Sneezing means nothing. But if you trip, they may believe the ground is resisting your guidance. Eli groaned quietly. I am not a guide. I am just a technician who told a joke at the wrong time. Kayla considered him for a long moment, the cave-like stillness settling between them even though they stood on open ground. You see yourself as small, she said. But you stood before them without fear. That is rare among my people. I was terrified, Eli said honestly. But you did not show it, Kayla replied. To them, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the absence of retreat. A light tremor rippled through the ground, subtle but noticeable. Kayla's eyes shifted to the horizon immediately. The dust vents pulsed again, sending up a thin column of shimmering particles that twisted into the air in a helix shape. Kayla inhaled sharply. They will see that, she murmured. They will think the sky is responding to your word of the morning. Eli watched the dust with widening eyes. But I did not do anything. I did not even breathe weird. Kayla touched the helix lightly with her gaze. This shape is rare. It symbolizes ongoing change. If the elders see it, they may come sooner than planned. Eli felt a pressure behind his ribs, not pain, but the sharp awareness of stepping closer to something he did not yet understand. Kayla, he whispered, what happens if they ask for more than a word tomorrow? She looked at him with a quiet steadiness that softened the rising tension. Then we answer gently, she said, and we show them that patience is not just a word you gave them. It is a truth you live. The dust helix dissolved into soft sparkles that drifted toward the ridge, as if the sky were quietly breathing out. Kayla stood beside Eli, her glow brushing the edge of his jacket like a calm signal in the morning light. Do not fear what they see in you, she said softly. Fear only stepping away before you understand it. Eli swallowed, the weight of her words settling deeper than the dust on the air. Then stay close, he murmured. Because I still do not know what any of this means. Kayla nodded gently. That, she said, is why I am here. The dust helix that had spiraled into the sky dissolved slowly, but its impression lingered in the air like a held note. Eli Turner watched the last flecks drift away, unsure whether he should feel relieved or concerned. Kayla observed the horizon with the same quiet focus she had shown since dawn, her bioluminescent patterns shifting between thoughtful blues and muted golds. The elders will sense the shift, she said softly. Dust rarely forms that shape without intention. Eli lifted both hands slightly. I promise you, I did not intend anything. I was barely breathing. Kayla's glow brightened with gentle amusement. That is not how my people see it. They believe intention can rest in presence, not just in action. Eli let out a slow exhale. That is terrifying, Kayla. Only if you assume everything depends on you, she replied. But meaning belongs to the community. You are only a piece of it. They moved away from the overlook and began walking along a narrow ridge path. The ground shimmered faintly beneath the morning light, the minerals catching every footstep in soft reflections. Eli tried to place his boots carefully, remembering Kayla's warning that walking too rhythmically could be interpreted as signaling readiness. So what happens when the elders arrive, he asked. Kayla paused, brushing her fingertips across a glowing seam in the rock. They will ask questions, but not the way humans ask questions. How do they ask? Through observation, she said. Through watching how you react to the world. Eli rubbed the back of his neck. That is a lot of pressure for someone who once tripped over an extension cord at a company meeting. Kayla tilted her head, studying him. That would have symbolized humility among my people. Good, Eli muttered, because it symbolized clumsiness among mine. The path opened into a quiet clearing where low crystalline structures jutted from the ground, glowing faintly with internal light. Kayla lowered herself onto one of the stones and gestured for Eli to sit. You should rest, she said. The elders may appear before midday. Eli sat beside her, the stone cool against his hand. Kayla, be honest. Is there anything I can say that would make them stop seeing me as the herald? Kayla's glow dimmed to a contemplative hue. Yes, she said. You could speak words of withdrawal. They would listen. Eli's breath caught. Then why did you not tell me that earlier? She turned her face toward him, patterns shifting in slow gradients. Because withdrawal is interpreted as sorrow. It would wound them, and it would tell them that hope had been misplaced again. Her voice softened. My people have survived many quiet disappointments. I do not want you to become another one. Eli looked down at his hands. Kayla, I never asked for this. I know, she whispered. But sometimes the world places meaning where none was intended. A faint sound drifted across the clearing, a low harmonic tone that vibrated through the ground before rising into the air like the soft chime of glass. Kayla stood immediately, her glow lifting into a bright, steady gold. They are near. Eli rose to his feet, his pulse quickening. Is that their arrival sound? Yes, Kayla said. The elders do not walk with noise. The world announces them. Eli swallowed hard. What do I do? Kayla stepped closer, her gaze steady, anchoring him in place. You stand, she said. You breathe. And you let them see you as you are. The harmonics grew clearer, weaving through the morning air like a calm, ancient melody. Kayla's voice dropped to a quiet whisper. This is the moment they will decide whether your presence is threat or promise. Eli steadied his stance, feeling the tone resonate through his ribs. Which do you believe I am? Kayla held his gaze for a long breath, her glow softening into something warm and unmistakably human in its gentleness. I believe, she said, that you are neither. You are simply someone who cares enough not to run. The harmonics swelled as shadows approached along the ridge, and Eli felt the world lean toward him, waiting. The harmonic tone deepened as three figures emerged along the ridge, their robes moving with the slow, deliberate grace of drifting sand. The elders did not hurry. They walked as if time itself adjusted to their pace. Their bioluminescent patterns shimmered in layered hues, each color carrying a meaning Eli Turner could not read but felt in the stillness around him. Kayla stepped slightly ahead, lowering her head in welcome. The elders responded with a soft incline, then turned their gaze toward Eli. It was not a stare. It was a quiet, searching awareness, as if they were listening to the space around him rather than to him directly. Eli kept his posture steady, shoulders relaxed, hands open, breath even. Kayla had explained that elders valued sincerity over perfection. Still, his heart thudded once, hard, threatening his calm. The tallest elder approached, her glow shifting into an intricate pattern that cascaded across her arms like ripples on water. She spoke a phrase that resonated in the air, the tones rising and falling with serene cadence. Kayla listened, translating only with her expression at first. When she finally spoke, her voice was gentle. She asked if the word you gave, patience, is a promise or a plea. Eli felt the weight of the question. A promise implied leadership. A plea implied humility. Neither would be wrong, but both would carry consequences he did not fully understand. He inhaled slowly, watching the green morning light reflect off the crystalline ground. Tell her, he said softly, that patience is a path, not a command, not a warning, just a way to walk when everything feels too large to hold. Kayla relayed his words. The elder's patterns brightened, shifting into warm gold. She stepped closer, raising one hand, not to touch him, but to acknowledge him with quiet ceremony. Another elder moved forward, offering a small crystal fragment that glowed faintly from within. Kayla's breath caught. They are giving you a listening stone, she whispered. It is a symbol of presence, not prophecy. It means they accept you without burden. Relief washed over Eli so strongly he almost laughed, but he steadied himself. He accepted the stone with both hands, as Kayla had taught him, letting the soft glow settle into his palms. The elders spoke together in a tone that blended like layered wind, then bowed, not deeply, but with measured respect, before retreating along the ridge. When their figures finally disappeared into the shifting light, the valley fell into a peaceful quiet. Kayla turned to Eli, her glow bright with something that looked nearly like joy. You changed the shape of the moment, she said, without speaking more than a sentence. Eli looked down at the stone, its internal light pulsing softly like a calm heartbeat. Does this mean the prophecy misunderstanding is over? Kayla shook her head gently. No prophecy was ever truly yours to begin with. My people simply needed to understand you were not a force arriving to reshape them. Eli let the stone rest against his chest. And what do they see me as now? Kayla stepped closer, her patterns softening into peaceful blue. A visitor who listens. A stranger who brings steadiness. That is more valuable than any herald. Eli felt a quiet settle inside him, deeper than relief. The sky above shifted color again, but this time, no one reacted. The world breathed without expectation. Kayla watched the horizon, then looked back at him with a faint, knowing smile. Eli Turner, she said softly, you did not become part of a prophecy. You became part of our silence. He nodded, understanding more in that moment than any translation could teach. And as the morning light washed over the plateau, neither of them spoke. They did not need to.